Folks, I was so ready to start this podcast on this broadcast on time today. I had everything ready to go, but I got hit with a radical software update. So I'm a couple of minutes behind, but I will be bringing you the hottest Google Slides action that you can get anywhere in the Santa Cruz area on the internet. Uh, I want to start by addressing viewer feedback, as I always do. Viewer feedback. Last week I was talking about Manichaeanism, and somebody asked me, well, I've heard this word Manichaean, and it doesn't seem to refer to a religion, because it's just a word in English. And that's true. Uh, it is used like that. Manichaean refers to struggles between good and evil, where there's this absolute polarization and not really any room for middle ground or waffling. You got to choose sides. You're on the side of good, or you're on the side of evil. And the term Manichaean is usually used uh, to criticize somebody's understanding of the world, to criticize somebody's worldview as being excessively polarized, but sometimes it do be like that. Um, if you have the moral sense that God gave a turnip, you will be on side with the graduate students at this moment of crucial decision for them. Send some love to your TAs tonight. They are facing some very hard choices imposed on them by Lori Kletzer, our absolutely vampiric interim EVC. Anyway, on to the subject of tonight's talk, which is, but wait, I have yet more viewer feedback, and this is viewer feedback that I'm getting via our YouTube metrics. What I'm seeing there is that actually you all hate to watch me talk for so long, for 30, 40, or even 100 minutes in a row, with just the words coming out of my mouth. So I'm going to try this week something a little bit more bite-sized. In parentheses, I found this absolutely loathsome hors d'oeuvre tray online. I mean, meat can't be that color, I don't think. I think that is Play-Doh and not meat. Anyway, it is very disgusting. Do not serve me those at your lawn party. Anyway, something more bite-sized this week. Aiming for a shorter recording time, between 5 and 10 minutes maybe. Just a little niblet of information about the ancient world, something that I hope will be new and interesting to you. Today it is about this goofball, a fellow named Bardesanes in the Latin and Greek tradition, or Bardeitson in his own native Syriac. This is a man who thought many interesting things. The view of his that I want to discuss today is that the planets are going to hell. Well, some might go to heaven, but most of them are going to hell. And this is a weird thing to think, but in kind of an ancient context, it makes a bit more sense. Bardesanes is looking for a way of addressing this problem of the ancient attitude towards planets, which is that planets have power over us. Planets can control our behavior. This is because among most learned people in the ancient world, astrology was considered to be not, as we see it today, a kind of a new age woo-woo thing, but actually a science, a scientific theory of how planets affect our behavior and control our behavior. Planets control you. Planets cause misfortune, and that means planets can cause you to do and suffer evil. You do get this sense, reading ancient treatments of the planet, especially by people who are astrologically informed, that planets are kind of this inscrutable dark force just outside of our grasp that's always having effects on us that we can barely understand via astrology, but that we can't really control. Planets are a symbol for this whole kind of harsh world of fate, in which the stuff that we do is really out of our hands. So for the ancient world, the planets are, for sure, causes of evil, possibly themselves actually evil. Well, so Bardaitzan is a Syriac Christian. He lives in Syria, and that's one of the places where astrology is sort of a hotbed of astrology. Um, a lot of the pagan pre-Christian religions of Syria are also connected with astrology. Um, he himself is very learned in astrology, but he has this view that's incompatible with astrology as it's generally understood, and that is that the world is good. Bardaitzan very strongly believes the world is good because it was created by God who is also good, and importantly for Bardaitzan, as a Christian, there is only one God. Uh, Not two, not a good God and an evil God like Mani believed, as I talked about last week. So Bardaitzan is wrangling with dualists like the villainous Marcion and other such like quasi Gnostics, who Bardaitzan, along with most Christian theologians of a non-Gnostic persuasion, sees as kind of perverting Christian doctrine to fit it into the structure of dualism of good versus evil. Um, so Bardaitzan wants the world to be good, but as somebody who understands just the basic science of how astrology works, he can't just say, hey, these planets don't do anything. They don't have power over us. What astrology is just nonsense. I mean, Bardaitzan is not some kind of anti-evolution type thinker or a climate change denier or whatever. He understands and respects basic science. He says, well, planets don't really have power to make us do evil, because God gave us the free will to choose to do good or evil. But planets definitely have the power to make us suffer evil. Planets definitely can cause misfortunes for us. Humans have a nature that is inclined to be healthy in general, to have enough of stuff, but planets get in the way of that. Planets interfere with our nature, which is generally pretty okay, using their cosmic planet rays. So planets do evil. They're agents of evil. How can they do evil? How can they be evildoers, evil causers, if God made the world and the world is good? Well, Bardaitzan's solution to this is that planets have a wee dram of free will. That free will is what they use to cause evil, to cause misfortune. Planets choose to do bad things to us. If they're just following the commands of God, they only cause things to go well, but when they make a choice of their own, they cause things to go badly for us. And it's those choices, the choices that planets make to cause us misfortune, that are going to justify planets being punished on Judgment Day, thrown into hell. This seems like a crazy idea, but as I've been suggesting, Bardaitzan is just kind of writing around the science of the time. He has to respect this widely accepted theory. Later, a couple hundred years later, Bardaitzan lives in the across the 2nd and 3rd centuries CE, but a couple centuries later, Christianity is going to develop a kind of coherent anti-astrology position to the effect that astrology simply isn't true. But when Bardaitzan's writing, that intellectual work hasn't been done yet. Astrology is kind of part of the laws of nature, so it has to be respected. So Bardaitzan respects it by having this idea that planets are alive, and so choose to cause evil, and are going to hell because of it. Gets around the notion that God created something bad. Is that wrong? Probably. Should you believe it? Definitely, because you're never going to get revenge on those planets during this lifetime. They're too far away, they're too big, they're too made of rock. But it's nice to think that the planets are going to suffer in the afterlife for what they do to us now. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this bit of Bardaitzan, but tune in next time for more about this weirdo. Alright, have a good night, everyone.